Get the unmissable news stories of the day.
This is the Beijing Hour.
Examining the events that impact and shape China and the rest of the world. This is the Beijing Hour, 1 hour of news and information brought to you every weekday. Now here's your host.
Shane Bigham with you on this Monday, March 23rd, 2026. You're listening to the Beijing Hour, coming to you live from the Chinese capital. On today's program, the China Development Forum in Beijing has reaffirmed the country's commitment to high standard opening up. China's warned that the situation in the Middle East threatens to become unmanageable if the fighting in the region continues. And hundreds of global activists and lawmakers have arrived in Cuba with humanitarian aid. In business, the annual Boao Forum for Asia is getting underway in China this week. In sports, the English Football League is crowned a new champion. In culture and entertainment, the Beijing International Film Festival has launched activities nearly a month ahead of the annual event. Now the day's top stories. Beijing has just hosted the China Development Forum, reaffirming its commitment to building certainty and high standard opening up. This year's gathering came just days after the end of the two sessions, where China's 15th five-year plan was officially approved. As the first major global business event since the release of the National Blueprint, it's provided a timely glimpse into how various stakeholders view the opportunities that China may offer. Ho Na has more from the scene.
This annual gathering, held immediately after China's two sessions, brings together over 100 global business leaders, policymakers, and scholars for 2 days of intensive dialogue on China's economic future. We witnessed the opening ceremony that set the tone for what promises to be a pivotal dialogue on China's economic trajectory. Premier Li Qiang delivered a keynote speech emphasizing confidence, responsibility, and action at the cornerstones of building certainty in an uncertain world.
China will continue to embrace free trade, advance high standard opening up, and work with other countries to enlarge the global economic and trade pie. China's import and export activities constitute fair trade conducted within the framework of rules. China also pays close attention to the concerns of our trading partners and stands ready to work with all parties to promote optimized, balanced, and sound development of trade.
His speech comes at a critical juncture as China charts course for its 15th five-year plan period.
The outline of the 15th five-year plan is not only a new blueprint for China's development, but also a new opportunity for the world's development. 5 years from now, China's total economic output is expected to reach 170 trillion yuan. This will create even greater space for deepening economic and trade cooperation between China and other countries.
Apple CEO Tim Cook, serving as the forum's foreign co-chair, also addressed the gathering, underscoring the continued confidence of multinational cooperation in the Chinese market.
China's excellently talented developer community is pushing the limits of innovation every day. And we're inspired by the many ways Chinese developers are using technology to build tools that help people learn valuable skills, manage their health, and bring new ideas to life. Together, they represent a powerful engine of growth, and they're an example of the new quality productive forces helping to increase prosperity and opportunity across the country.
I've talked to many participants during the session. Well, they say what makes this gathering particularly relevant is its timing.
What's great with China is there is a lot of clarity on the future, on the direction of the future. And I would say for us as a business, it's extremely helpful because we know what to expect. We know where the public policy is, and that's just helpful for us to make the right investment in the right place.
Technology takes center stage with sessions on AI governance, industrial application of artificial intelligence, and the digital transformation of manufacturing. The forum will also address new energy development, financial innovation supporting quality growth, and strategies for navigating global uncertainties through enhanced international cooperation.
That was Ho Na at the China Development Forum in Beijing. The governor of China's central bank says the country has no intention to gain a competitive advantage in trade by depreciating the value of the yuan. Pan Gongsheng made the remarks at the China Development Forum in Beijing.
Following the classification standards of the International Monetary Fund, China implements a managed floating exchange rate system. In the first 3 months or so of this year, the RMB has appreciated by about 1.3% against the US dollar, 3.7% against the euro, 3.2% against the Japanese yen, and 2.4% against the British pound. China has neither the need nor the intention to gain a competitive advantage in trade through currency devaluation.
Industry and Information Technology Minister Li Licheng said another target is to achieve breakthroughs in strategic and future-oriented sectors.
We will systematically tackle key issues in developing original and leading technologies. We will promote breakthroughs in quantum computing, biomanufacturing, hydrogen fuel, nuclear fusion energy, brain-computer interfaces, embodied AI, and 6G. We will also engage with the Global Innovation Network.
Finance Minister Lan Fa'an said the government will boost policy support to stimulate consumer spending this year. He said the central government will provide 350 billion yuan, or $50 billion for such support. Authorities will also roll out more policies to increase incomes. Lan also said the focus of investment this year will be strategic areas like new urbanization and new quality productive forces. Despite rising uncertainty from geopolitical tensions, many companies continue to place strong bets on China. Yang Chengxi caught up with business leaders at the forum to find out more.
The highlight of the event, Premier Li Qiang's speech, whose message of multilateralism has resonated with business leaders here for years.
Nice to meet you.
I spoke with one of them about it.
Premier Li talked about the perils of protectionism. I remember last year you also talked about how current headwinds against globalization actually create great opportunities for Europe to work with China in terms of energy, right?
Yeah, for sure. We have observed more barriers. And in fact, we see a lot of, I would say, non-cooperative attitude. I'm still convinced, in particular in the field of energy. But in fact, both with China and Europe have exactly the same strategy, which is going to more green energy, which is a way to combine security of supply. China is leading the way.
Overall, Europe has been taking a proactive approach toward cooperation with China. Since late last year, leaders from France, Ireland, Finland, and the UK have all visited. Finnish Prime Minister Petteri Orpo visited China this January. How does this diplomatic engagement translate into opportunities for Finnish companies like KONE?
Prime Minister Orpo went to China to reinforce the trust that has been built over time, which actually is very parallel to the trust that KONE has been building with the China-based ecosystem and its customer.
Of course, there's another side to the story. Trade tensions between China and the United States are still casting a long shadow over business. We've just seen a new round of trade talks. Some progress was made, but many issues remain unresolved.
And yet, here on the ground, the mood is more pragmatic than political. For many American companies, the Chinese market is simply too big to ignore.
According to the organizer of the CVF, American companies make up the biggest part of official participants.
How busy is your schedule compared to your previous times in China, and what does it say about your businesses in China?
Well, every time I come to China, my agenda is packed, and I want it that way. I want to see our colleagues, I want to see our business partners, I want to see government officials. And guess what? In China, every time we have that access. It's always an exciting time in China. We're investing, and we're here to stay.
Despite talks around geopolitics and uncertainty, it was a personal story from an executive I interviewed for the first time that encapsulated participants' sentiments.
So you've just assumed your role as president of Merck China earlier this year, right?
I'm not new to China, obviously. I'm also not new to Merck. I ran the healthcare business for Merck between 17 and 22 out of Beijing. That's interesting. Actually, at some point in time, I was thinking about, after 35 years of working in the pharmaceutical industry, I thought maybe I need to slow down a little bit. I need to take it easy. Maybe I take a job in the headquarters or something like that. But in reality, I thought, no. There needs to be a little bit more excitement. And I'm super excited about what I'm seeing and hearing. I mean, the speed of China, the way things are developing so rapidly here.
That's not an answer I was expecting, but it makes total sense. For many global CEOs, it's still the scale, the speed, and the opportunity that keep them excited about China.
That was Yang Chengxi sharing his observations at the China Development Forum. Many of the multinational companies attending this year's forum have had a long-standing presence in China. Cao Chufeng spoke with Judy Marks, the president of leading U.S. elevator company Otis, about how China's development plans are creating new opportunities for the industry.
The company has a major R&D center in China. What role does China play in your company's global innovation and manufacturing strategy?
Yeah, so I would tell you, to us in China, it's an innovation hub and an agility engine. And that really describes China for us. We do work in China for China, but we also do both manufacturing and develop R&D development for the rest of the world. And China in Shanghai has our largest development team of anywhere in the world. It makes us go faster, it's AI and digital driven, and it really allows us to set the benchmark.
China is also developing very fast in areas such as digital infrastructure, smart cities. How do you see China's innovation shaping the future of elevator industry?
And now to us, the world is digital and connected. They're the two highest priorities we have. And so if an elevator is part of an ecosystem in the building, we can share information with transportation systems, with energy systems. As China pursues even more of a low-carbon world, our elevators actually push power back into the building and capture power when they break with our regenerative drives.
China's recent policy agenda emphasizes on high-quality development, technological innovation, and further opening up. Any particular messages or measures or policies that you find encouraging for multinational companies?
I would tell you everything we see in the 15th five-year plan is encouraging. High-quality development, which is a commitment from the government and the whole ecosystem to serve its citizens. Digitalization, urban renewal, all of this combines. It's created a large market for a company like Otis. It's where we're going to invest, and it's in sync with our strategy and our mission.
That was Judy Marks, the president of Otis Elevator. China's electric vehicle industry is attracting attention at home and abroad. Many international travelers are visiting EV showrooms in China to see the future of mobility firsthand. El Liao visited Zhejiang Province, an auto industry hub in eastern China.
This is China's West Lake, top hit with travelers and artists, right next to it.
It's a street lined with EV showrooms, now drawing in visitors from around the world.
Where are you from?
I'm from the UK. From Australia.
Russia.
India. France. I own an EV car, but this is from Europe.
Chris showed us the models that caught his eye during his trip in China.
So I would like to see the difference and how far the technology has come in.
Many of them step inside, curious to learn more about Chinese EVs.
Since opening, we've received many foreign visitors. I usually introduce the cars in simple English.
Some have even already bought one.
And Chinese cars give you a reasonable, decent amount of money, less money, and more features.
I am at the moment. They're bringing out the new plug-in hybrid.
High energy density batteries, fast charging, and premium materials. These are quickly becoming standard in China's EV market. But how do they manage all this and keep prices low? We visited a factory to see how demand is translated into production.
This is a right-hand drive Zeekr 009. The order comes from Thailand, and we're told that around 50 EVs leave this factory for overseas markets almost every day.
The smart factory is designed for an annual capacity of up to 360,000 vehicles. So how does Zeekr manage regulatory compliance, consistent quality, and efficient delivery across different global markets? The answer is simple. Standardization. That's what makes scale possible. This flexible production line can handle up to 6 models at the same time. Different configurations, as well as left and right-hand drive vehicles, are produced on the same line, allowing quick adjustments to meet varying requirements across different markets. Whether for domestic sales or exports, all vehicles are built under the same unified process. At the same time, digital scheduling and a direct-to-factory order system help align production more precisely with overseas demand. Yet this rapid global expansion is now confronted with the new set of regulations. In 2026, the EU established new measures, minimum selling price and export limits, to offset tariffs up to 35.3%.
I think the regulatory complexity in Europe is high. The difficult part for us is also to deal with so many differences among the countries. At the moment, there are still a lot of discussions ongoing. Nothing is 100% clear that we can already move into a specific direction. And that is what I'm personally also discussing with the right people here in Europe.
They are worried, but they're still pushing ahead. 5 new retail branches are set to open in Europe soon, and clearly they are not stopping there.
That was El Liao in Hangzhou. Coming up, China has warned of a potentially unmanageable situation in the Middle East.
Pause Plus, a selection of the best podcasts in China, covering history, customs, music, literature, and in-depth dialogues. Find your way to a wealth of Chinese culture and thinking, all on Pause Plus.
That's 16 past the hour. China's warned of an unmanageable situation in the Middle East if the war continues to escalate. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lin Jian again called for an end to military operations.
The
flames of war in the Middle East are still spreading and spilling over. If the fighting continues to expand and the situation escalates further, the entire region will fall into an unmanageable situation. The use of force will only lead to a vicious cycle. China strongly calls on the parties concerned to immediately halt military operations and return to dialogue and negotiation, and not to let this war, which should never have started in the first place, continue any longer.
The spokesperson was responding to U.S. President Donald Trump's threat to destroy Iran's energy infrastructure if Tehran does not reopen the Strait of Hormuz within 48 hours. Iran warns it will immediately close the strait if the U.S. attacks its power plants. The Iranian armed forces suggested several punitive measures in response, including closing the Strait of Hormuz until damaged plants are rebuilt and targeting power plants in any country hosting U.S. military bases. The Iranian Foreign Ministry said the Strait of Hormuz is not blocked and navigation continues with necessary measures under wartime conditions. It insists that full stability in the waterway requires an end to U.S. and Israeli aggression. Michael Marillier explains the potential impacts of the U.S. and Iran trading strikes on energy facilities in the region.
Now, President Trump has warned that he will obliterate Iran's power stations. What does that mean for Iran? Well, for a start, it will have to defend several sites. Iran gets most of its power from 3 facilities: the Damavand station near the capital Tehran, the Kerman plant in the southeast, and Rakhmin in the west. That plant is close to the border with Kuwait and Iraq, and that may be significant because the US has bases in both those countries. There's also the Bushehr nuclear power plant, and again, that's close to Kuwait, in fact, directly across the Persian Gulf. Now, we know Iranians will suffer if the power grid is damaged. Just over 30% of Iran's electricity is used in residential areas. But an attack could also hurt the economy. Roughly 35% of power usage is linked to industry. In other words, the factories that employ people. Nearly 20% is for commercial purposes and public services. For example, shops and office buildings. But Iran is not backing down, saying it could attack US infrastructure in the region, including energy facilities. It's also warned that it may target desalination plants in the Gulf. There are more than 400 of these sites which convert seawater into fresh water. Gulf states need these plants because they have very little natural fresh water. The average, 120 cubic meters per person per year. Now, for context, if a country has less than 500 cubic meters per person, then it's classified as water scarce. Gulf states, as we've seen, have on average less than a quarter of that amount. So water is a big issue. And those countries may feel the pinch if these facilities take a hit. Nearly a fifth of Saudi Arabia's water comes from desalination. Oman, almost a quarter. In the UAE, it's more than 40%. Kuwait, almost half. And in Bahrain and Qatar, we're looking at 60%. Of course, we don't know how much damage Iran can inflict, but it is sending a clear message, showing that it's willing to respond if the US follows through on its threats.
That was Michael Marillier reporting. Explosions have rocked several parts of Tehran as Israel targets government infrastructure with a new wave of strikes. Israel earlier said it hit several Iranian weapons production sites in overnight strikes on the Iranian capital. Saper Saremi has more.
Tehran was relatively quiet yesterday, but this morning there were several explosions in the city. Atmosphere and the atmosphere on the ground, I have to tell you that people are concerned. People are anxious. Why? Because President Donald Trump has threatened Iran to target the power plants here. So that has created a lot of anxiety among Iranians, and also it's making Iranians more and more pessimistic toward Donald Trump, because even those who oppose the government are now becoming more pessimistic toward him, because he said help is on the way. I was talking to one of my friends yesterday. He said, Trump said help is on the way. What kind of help is this? So his threat regarding the power plant is creating a lot of anxiety among people, because if they hit the power plants, there's going to be a wide blackout in different cities, including Tehran. So what we are seeing here, as I said, it's a vicious circle. US and Israel strike, and then Iran retaliates by firing missiles. But I think, if the US targets power plants in Iran, it will, this war will take it to another level, because the Iranian army and also IRGC, they have warned that if the power plants here are targeted, power plants of the regional countries and also the desalination system will be attacked by Iran. So I think so far in the last 22 days, we've had a pattern of escalation. But if power plants are attacked, I think we will see another round of escalation, which is going to be very dangerous.
That was Saper Saremi reporting. Global markets remain on edge as the Middle East conflict escalates. Oil prices have surged nearly 50% since the attacks began, with Brent crude up 8.8% last week. The Wall Street Journal reports that Saudi officials are warning prices could hit $180 per barrel if disruptions persist. Gold posted its steepest weekly loss in 15 years, plunging nearly 10% as rising yields and hawkish central bank signals have outweighed safe haven demand. Bond markets are feeling the heat as well. The 10-year U.S. Treasury yield climbed above 4.3% last week. Traders are now pricing in a roughly 40% chance of a Fed rate hike by October, a sharp reversal from last month's expectations of rate cuts. Coming up, international activists and lawmakers are bringing humanitarian aid to Cuba.
You've been listening to programs from CGTN Radio.
CGTN Radio.
We invite you to visit us online for more audio, pictures, and in-depth reports. At radio.cgtn.com, you can access a wide range of programs and find your favorite news, talk, features, entertainment shows, and podcasts. Hear the difference with CGTN Radio.
23 past the hour. Hundreds of activists from Latin America, North America, and Europe have arrived in Cuba as part of an international solidarity convoy. Luis Chirino reports from Havana.
The convoy represents dozens of trade unions, political organizations, and solidarity groups from the United States, Europe, and other regions of the world. The first members arrived here by air, and the second group is expected to come aboard a flotilla that sailed out of Mexico. The group was officially welcomed to Cuba during a ceremony in Havana where Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel expressed appreciation for the solidarity at a critical time for the Cuban people. They brought humanitarian aid to local hospitals, including medicines to treat cancer patients. The activists were briefed about the hardships. Convoy organizers met with Cuban government officials and with the media about their initiative.
There are deeply humanistic motivations for this convoy. And that's why people are conducting these acopios, these aid collections, in their own communities, in their own plazas, in their own homes, packing suitcases full of basic medicines that the blockade seeks to prevent the Cuban people from accessing.
Cubans have endured a deep economic crisis for the past few years, made worse by a U.S. embargo. A recent oil blockade against the island has caused a severe energy shortage.
For us, this is a great opportunity because we're walking in the neighborhoods, we're talking to ordinary people, we're hearing people's stories with no intermediaries. We're hearing how difficult life is right now. How it's been difficult over the last few years, but how it's gotten infinitely worse in the last 3 months because of the fuel blockade brought on by Trump.
The activists said their task is to shed light on what the U.S. government is doing against Cuba. British lawmaker Jeremy Corbyn joined other parliamentarians and convoy members here. Corbyn told CGTN the convoy is sending a loud and clear message.
And I think the images around the world of ordinary people coming to Cuba with the necessary equipment for children to be treated in hospital, to repair the damaged electricity system and all the rest of it is very, very important. And I think that will lead to pressure on governments all around the world.
During their visit, the activists are meeting with local authorities, visiting neighborhoods and institutions, and participating in cultural activities.
The Cuban people have welcomed the international support and solidarity from around the world with a caravan of humanitarian aid. The help comes as the island copes with worsening economic slump and a severe energy crisis.
That was Luis Chirino in Cuba. Participants at the CELAC Summit and the inaugural CELAC Africa high-level forum in the Colombian capital have denounced the U.S. strikes in the Caribbean and Iran. Michelle Begay reports from Bogota.
Leaders from Latin America and the Caribbean called for regional unity this weekend and sent strong messages against the current geopolitical fragmentation. Colombian President Gustavo Petro hosted his counterparts at the 10th summit of the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States, CELAC, held in Bogota.
In Latin America, despite our problems, we have learned to embrace one another as partners and as brothers. We do not destroy our neighbour's home. We do not kill his child or his mother with a missile. We understand that a boatman carrying an illicit substance in the Caribbean because he has no other way to feed himself does not deserve to be hit by a missile that destroys his family and his dreams. Solutions can be found simply by talking. That is what I told Trump the day I met him in person.
In a high-level forum with delegates from Africa and CELAC, Brazil's president criticized, without specifically mentioning the United States, the conflict against Iran and the Cuban embargo. He called for an end to outside interference.
Latin America and Africa still do not have adequate representation on this UN Security Council. The wars in Ukraine, Gaza, Iran, and so many other conflicts are pulling us further away from the path of development. They are creating economic, social, and political consequences around the world. They are driving up energy and food prices. We need to keep the South Atlantic free from outside geopolitical disputes.
The mission of CELAC Africa is to rebuild a South-South cooperation framework that strengthens partnerships in trade, investment, infrastructure, and development. The African Union and CELAC together represent nearly 2 billion people.
The colleagues who are here in the final communiqué, may we clearly mention this forum's support for the countries of Haiti, Venezuela and Cuba. This is the strong support that we must show to all those who do not wish us well or want to continue dominating this world.
The CELAC summit closed with a ceremony to mark the organization's handover of the pro tempore presidency to Uruguay.
Choosing peace is a decision that demands dialogue when it is easiest to break it. It demands institutions and it demands reconciliations when peace seems irreconcilable.
A call for peace from Latin America and the Caribbean.
That was Michelle Begay reporting. We're at 29 past the hour. Beijing, cloudy and down to 5 this evening, a high of 20 on Tuesday. Shanghai will see a light rainfall overnight and through tomorrow, a low of 10, a high of 13. Chongqing also getting a light rainfall, a low of 15, a high of 20. Nanchang will get moderate rainfall, giving way to a light rain, a low of 13, a high of 16. Lhasa is cloudy and down to +1, some sleet with that, a high of 13 tomorrow. Elsewhere in Asia, Islamabad will get some rain in 13, then overcast in 26. It's time for a short break. So far this hour, the China Development Forum in Beijing's reaffirmed the country's commitment to high standard opening up. And China's warned that the situation in the Middle East threatens to become unmanageable if the fight in the region continues. And hundreds of global activists and lawmakers have arrived in Cuba with humanitarian aid. Shane Begum with you. Stay with us here on the Beijing Hour.
Shh, listen up. Can you hear the heartbeat of our world? It's vibrant and pulsating with the essence of life itself. From the stem of trees to the gurgle of rivers. From the silent strength of mountains to the icy whispers of glaciers. Even the solid ground beneath our feet. And right there, in the midst of all, beats the heart of humanity. What if those other heartbeats were to stop? Would ours keep on ticking?
Ever wondered what's actually going on in Africa through the perspective of an African? How are things really going between China and Africa? What's the narrative of this relationship? Well, get a perspective with China-Africa Talk. Hear from African diplomats, entrepreneurs, academics, Chinese natives, and more. Get on our wavelength every week to find out what's real with China-Africa Talk. Find us on your favorite podcast. We'll see you there.
Examining the events that impact and shape China and the rest of the world. This is the Beijing Hour, 1 hour of news and information brought to you every weekday. Now here's your host,
Shane Begum with you on this Monday. Still to come. In business, the annual Boao Forum for Asia is getting underway in China this week. In sports, the English Football League has crowned a new champion. In culture and entertainment, the Beijing International Film Festival has launched activities nearly a month ahead of the annual event. To contact us, you can email radio@cgtn.com or follow our X account at CGTN Radio. Now checking the day's headlines, here's Wang Zihang.
Thank you, Shane. The Chinese president has inspected the Xun'an New area in Hebei province. Xi Jinping, also General Secretary of the Communist Party of China Central Committee, reviewed construction progress in the startup zone. He also visited the China Huanan Group and the Xun'an campus of Beijing No. 4 High School to learn more about local development. The Chinese leader met with representatives from organizations that have relocated or are in the process of relocating as part of efforts to shift functions non-essential to Beijing's role as the national capital. Vice Premier He Lifeng says China hopes that American companies will fully grasp the opportunities from China's development and make full use of its market potential to inject more stability and positivity into economic and trade relations. He has met a delegation of the U.S.-China Business Council and encouraged them to continue to promote friendly exchanges and the steady and healthy advancement of ties. Senior members from the council said the American corporate world is confident in China's economic outlook and is willing to deepen its presence in the Chinese market. Meantime, He Lifeng said China welcomes investment from Singapore state investor Temasek and other countries to share in the opportunities that China's economic development presents. During a meeting with the Temasek chairperson, the vice premier said China will continue to expand and upgrade its market and that the economy had started this year with a better-than-expected performance. Israel's military chief has approved plans to expand the offensive in Lebanon and said that the military is prepared for a prolonged operation. El Zamir approved the advancement of targeted ground operations over the weekend. He said that the offensive against Hezbollah is interconnected with the U.S.-Israeli war against the Iranian government. Meantime, the Lebanese president has condemned Israel's targeting and destruction of infrastructure and vital facilities in southern Lebanon. Joseph Aoun said Israeli airstrikes targeted a bridge on the Litani River, a vital artery for civilian movement. The Israeli military confirmed the strikes, saying they targeted Hezbollah positions along the river. An Air Canada jet has collided with a fire truck on the runway of New York's LaGuardia Airport. In a statement, the airline said there were more than 70 passengers and 4 crew members aboard the plane. The New York Police Department confirmed the collision but did not immediately offer additional information. Photos and videos showed the jet with severe damage to the front of the aircraft. Many travelers at U.S. airports say they are concerned about reaching their gates on time, as airports are expecting long security lines amid Transportation Security Administration staffing shortages. Lines wrapped from one end of the Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport in Atlanta to the other. Many travelers are worrying that they might miss their flights because of the lengthy lines.
I'm not going to make my flight. It's what went through my mind.
It is frustrating, but at the same time, we're patient. We're patient with the lines, and we know that the ones that are working as hard as they can.
The White House has ordered federal immigration agents to assist at busy airport security checkpoints amid a Homeland Security Department shutdown. It says the agents will help relieve security line congestion and ease the workload of TSA agents, where many officers have quit or called in sick while working without pay because Congress failed to renew DHS funding. Monday marks World Meteorological Day. The World Meteorological Organization is warning that the Earth's climate is more out of balance than at any time in observed history. It says in its State of the Global Climate Report 2025 that greenhouse gas concentrations have continued warming the atmosphere and oceans and melting the ice. The report confirmed that the period between 2015 and 25 were the hottest years on record. It said the ocean has absorbed the equivalent of about 18 times the annual human energy use each year over the past 20 years. Ocean heat content reached the highest level in the year 2025 since records began in 1960. The report also included Earth's energy imbalance as a key climate indicator for the first time, saying the imbalance reached a new high last year.
All right, thank you very much. That's Wang Ziheng with headlines. Coming up in business, the annual Boao Forum for Asia is getting underway in China this week.
The Beijing Hour, your window on China and the rest of the world.
37 past now. Stock markets across the Asia-Pacific region tumbled on Monday amid the escalating Middle East crisis. South Korea's Kospi Composite Index plunged almost 6.5%. Japan's Nikkei dropped nearly 3.5%. Stock markets on the Chinese mainland also fell sharply. The Shanghai Composite was down over 3.6%. The Shenzhen Component decreased nearly 3.8%. Forestry and passenger car shares were among the top gainers. Hong Kong, the Hang Seng Index lost more than 3.5%. The Boao Forum for Asia will take place from Tuesday to Friday in southern China. This year's gathering in Hainan province seeks to build consensus, advance regional cooperation, and explore new development pathways for Asia and the world amid global uncertainties. Dai Kai has the latest in Boao.
This year marks the 25th anniversary of the Boao Forum for Asia. 25 years has passed. A lot has changed. And if we look at the agenda this year, it really reflects the moment we're in, from a world at a crossroads to injecting or bringing certainty to an uncertain world, to discussions about tariff tensions and also the role of the global south in improving global governance. The idea here is to find common ground even as differences remain. And another focus here, of course, is on emerging technologies like artificial intelligence. Now, you can really see it across the program that the growing presence of artificial intelligence across industries is really shaping up new areas of cooperation and new space for opportunities. And now that the tone was already set as early as the beginning of this year at the BFA New Year Outlook 2026 event, chairman of the forum as well as former UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon warned that the world is getting more volatile, more divided, and harder to predict. But most countries still see cooperation and multilateralism as the new path forward. And it makes sense, especially at a time like this. Asia remains one of the key growth engines. If we look at it, RCEP is fully in place. In China-ASEAN free trade area, cooperation is further upgraded. So the momentum is still there. And there's also expectations on China's policy continuity, its massive market size, as well as institutional opening up. Case in point is Hainan Free Trade Port, which just began its special customs operation at the end of last year, seen as a milestone for many 2020 for further expanding investments and for global businesses expanding their presence here in Hainan and China through this free trade port mechanism. Now, just to put this into context, Boao Forum for Asia was founded in 2001. It positions itself as a platform for dialogue and regional integration. And as many participants have said it time and again, uncertainty has become a new normal. Geopolitical tensions are testing economic resilience here, both in Asia and beyond. So international coordination and cooperation is no longer optional. It's essential. So this year, if nothing else, the Boao Forum for Asia is about one thing, and that is bringing a bit more certainty into this uncertain world.
That was Dai Kai reporting. Industry data shows that China's engineering machinery exports maintained rapid growth in the first 2 months of the year, rising 33.4% on a yearly basis to exceed $10.6 billion US dollars. Even in February, which included the week-long Spring Festival holiday, the exports surpassed $5.1 billion US dollars. It's over 50% higher than the average monthly export value recorded last year. The country's engineering machinery exports grew across all continents, with Africa recording a 77% surge. Oceania registered an increase of nearly 51%, and Europe saw a growth rate of 28%. Meanwhile, the exports to the Belt and Road partner countries totaled $4.6 billion US dollars, accounting for over 43% of the total, an increase of nearly 25%. On the sidelines of the China Development Forum, Wang Tianyu sat down with Volkswagen Group CEO Oliver Blume for an exclusive interview. This marks Blume's second visit to China in just a month, with another planned for the Beijing Auto Show coming up in April. Blume describes China as a training center for the group, noting that success in the market is the ultimate blueprint for winning globally. The CEO began the interview by saying that China was one of the most important markets for their business last year, with 30% of their overall sales volume happening in the country.
We are in a full swing of implementing our new strategy in China for China. And therefore, for me, it has been a great pleasure being part of the China Development Forum and also listening to the Prime Minister. And for me, there were main takeaways from his speech. On the one hand side, that China is continuously opening the markets and also aiming for cooperations with international OEMs. Then understand competition as an opportunity for companies. For those who will be successful in China, will be successful worldwide, and understand China as a training center, especially for the automotive industry. Also aiming for high quality as a part of the 5-year plan. I think that's the right approach. High quality is building new technologies, new industries, and at the end, new markets, which is an opportunity for the economy. And there was one quote at the end of the Prime Minister's speech, what was very impressive to me, is for those who think globally and big are those who set the direction.
Yeah, you just mentioned about China's 5-year plan. And I think Germans like to make plans too. You just got 100% focus on leading the Volkswagen Group now. So what is your next 5-year plan?
Yeah, we are focusing also on our target picture 2030. We are looking back to a huge restructuring we have done during the last 3 years. And the world has changed globally during the last 3 years in terms of trade barriers. We have changed markets. Therefore, we have to adapt our strategy, thinking more local for local, while keeping our synergy, scaling opportunities of Volkswagen Group. And this is what we are focusing, and to adapt our technologies, adapting our products, and on the other side, also our production footprint, and thinking more local for local. Europe was necessary to rescale our capacities because the European market was shrinking during the last years with more competition in the market, and therefore we were a bit over-invested. And I think with this measure we will be right-sized in Europe. And on the other side, in China, it was necessary to implement more local for local, and therefore we decided to build the second biggest engineering center beside of Germany here in China in Anhui province.
That was Volkswagen Group CEO Oliver Blume talking about the company's strategies and plans in China. Beijing's Rocket Street project is evolving into a national-level scientific research and production hub, helping to support China's commercial space development. The project is located in Beijing E-Town, an economic and technological development area in the southeast. It has a floor space of 140,000 square meters, roughly the size of 20 football fields. The complex features a technological platform, high-end manufacturing center, and an innovation research and development hub as its core facilities. Ma Zhao is the deputy director of Beijing E-Town's Robotics of the Intelligent Manufacturing Industry Bureau.
We aim to rank among the best in the world. We will promote airline-style launches of large reusable rockets, fully reusable rockets, and fully reusable heavy-lift rockets. We will accelerate the development and mass production of new internet satellites, plan the building of new space infrastructure, and develop full industrial chain capabilities to launch 1,000 satellites.
China's included the commercial space sector among over 100 major projects in the coming years, expecting the industry to become a key driver of new quality productive forces. Open to private investment in 2015, the sector now comprises over 600 commercial space companies. Annual financing reached more than 18 billion yuan, or around $2.6 billion last year. China sent the Centispace 02 satellite group into a planned orbit from the waters near Haiyang in East China. A Taiyuan Satellite Launch Center conducted the mission using a Smart Dragon 3 carrier rocket, also known as Jielong 3. The launch marks the 10th flight of that carrier rocket model. The Centispace 02 satellite group is part of China's low-orbit satellite system. It aims to establish a navigation system to meet the national positioning, navigation, and timing strategic needs. You're listening to the Beijing Hour. Coming up in sports, the English Football League has crowned new champions.
Sideline Story brings you all things sports related. The hottest topics, latest events, juiciest stories, all with a very personal take. Subscribe to Sideline Story Podcast for heated sports discussions covering events that are happening in China and around the world.
47 past the hour now, and turning to sports. Here's Yang Guang.
Thank you, Shane. In football, Manchester City has won the EFL Cup final, beating Arsenal 2-0. Nico O'Reilly scored both goals in the second half. It was Pep Guardiola's fifth EFL Cup title. Guardiola says Man City still have room to improve.
When a group of players win and knows that to win, especially titles, we can do it. But still, and the season prove it. Still, we are much better than last season, of course, but still prove we are not the team like should be that require time. And hopefully at the end of the season, next season, we can do it.
Meantime, Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta says they will handle disappointment properly.
What this team has done in the last 8 months has been incredible, and we're going to use this disappointment and this fire in the belly to have the most amazing 2 months that we have ever together. And that's on us, and we will manage that energy in the right way. Now we have to go through that pain and disappointment, and it's normal, and it's part of football.
In the Premier League, Sunderland beat Newcastle 2-1. Brian Brobby scored the winning goal in the 90th minute. Aston Villa beat West Ham 2-0. West Ham now sits in the relegation zone. Nottingham Forest beat Tottenham 3-0. Turning to tennis at the Miami Open, China's Zheng Qinwen has overcome another Grand Slam winner. The Olympic champion came from a set down to beat last year's Aussie Open winner Madison Keys in 3 sets to book a place in the round of 16. Zheng Qinwen beat 2017 US Open champion Sloane Stephens in the previous round. The win marks Zheng's first triumph over a top 20 player since last spring at Roland Garros. On the men's side, Carlos Alcaraz suffered a stunning 3 sets upset loss. The world number 1 lost to Sebastian Kuda in the third round.
Well, I think it was a tough match. Obviously, I think Sebi was incredible today. Played such a great game. A lot of tight moments that I just didn't make the most of it, and I think he was better on that points, on that moments, and it was that. I would say that was the key of the match. So just. Congrats to him, and I think he deserved it.
Koda marked his first win against world number 1 and becomes just the 6th American man to defeat a top-ranked player since 2015. Next up for him is Martin Lucci. Koda credited the win to aggression.
I was aggressive as possible. I served great throughout the whole match, and that's kind of what you have to do to beat a player like him. He's unbelievable in every aspect of his game, movement, volleys, forehand, backhand. There's nothing he can't do. So I definitely needed to I needed to be aggressive. I needed to take the ball out of his hand and take the point in my favor.
6th seed Taylor Fritz also progressed, knocking out Riley Opelka in straight sets. Switching to the final day at the China Open Swimming Championships, Zhang Zhanshuo has won the men's 800-meter freestyle to claim his 4th individual gold medal in Shenzhen. Zhang and Lucas Martens came in as the top contenders. Martens held a tiny lead through the first 450 meters before Zhang overtook him during the final 350. Zhang became the only quadruple gold medalist at this event.
I'm really glad to compete against Martens here. I'm really happy and cherish this opportunity. I also delivered a pretty solid performance at this competition. Competitive sports are about mutual competition. Having top foreign athletes race against us at this event is, I believe, a great chance to push ourselves and break through our limits.
Earlier at the University Art Center, Zhang had beaten the world record holder in the men's 400-meter freestyle. In the men's 200-meter individual medley, Chinese veteran Wang Shun finished second. World record holder Regan Smith claimed the dominant victory in the women's 100-meter backstroke. And in the women's 200-meter individual medley final, Yu Zidi edged the fellow Chinese Yu Yiting by just 0.08 seconds to win the title. And finally, FIFA has launched a new initiative called Boots for All. It will provide free football boots to underprivileged children worldwide. FIFA President Gianni Infantino helped launch the campaign.
Boots in football is still the most expensive part of the equipment. Many children in many parts of the world cannot afford to buy boots. So we thought at FIFA that our mission should also be to give the opportunity to these children to play football not only in beautiful pitches but also wearing beautiful boots. We have therefore decided to produce ourselves some boots. We are testing them, we send them around, we produce, we ship.
FIFA has bought 20,000 pairs of boots to start. They will go to boys and girls aged 8 to 16. Infantino also opened a temporary mini pitch in Paris. More FIFA arena pitches will be built around the world.
All right, thank you very much. That's Yang Guang with sports. You're listening to the Beijing Hour, and coming up in culture and entertainment, the Beijing International Film Festival has launched activities nearly a month ahead of the annual event.
From north to south, east to west, people in China are chasing their dreams and leaving their mark. Want to know how they beat the odds and made a difference? Footprints brings you the true life stories of their journeys.
53 past the hour. Turning to culture and entertainment. The 16th Beijing International Film Festival has begun its theater unit. The opening play, Cui Jinyuan, has premiered in Beijing. The main festival runs from April 16th to the 25th. It'll include the Tiantan Awards, screenings, forums, and a carnival. The event aims to connect Chinese cinema with the world. It'll showcase global film culture and promote industry exchanges. Ancient Chinese martial art, Tai Chi, is gaining popularity beyond China. In Benin, it's not only embraced for its health benefits, but also as a way to strengthen cultural ties with China. Sharon Barunga reports.
At a sports complex in Cotonou, an unusual scene is unfolding. Around 30 participants move slowly and in unison, practicing an ancient discipline not commonly seen in Benin, Tai Chi. Leading the session is Frank Nodufinin, a key figure behind the introduction and promotion of this Chinese martial art, or wushu, in the country.
Tai Chi Chuan is an ancient Chinese discipline. It is therapeutic, combining slow, fluid, and circular movements. It harmonizes the balance between mind and body.
Though often seen as a sport, Tai Chi is deeply rooted in meditation and controlled movement. Its emphasis on precision and synchronization sets it apart from conventional fitness routines. For Frank, the practice is not just physical, it is a way to maintain balance in everyday life. Now serving as an ambassador for Tai Chi in Benin, Frank organized this event following the discipline's recognition by UNESCO as part of the world's intangible cultural heritage in 2025. It also aimed to introduce more Beninese people to the practice. The initiative has already had an impact.
I had stopped practicing for some time, but when I heard about this event, I decided to come back. I also want to encourage others who stopped to return and join our Wushu club.
I started practicing Wushu in 2024 because of my health. Tai Chi helps me stay fit, relaxed and balanced. It's a form of harmony for both the body and the mind.
The growing popularity of Tai Chi highlights strengthening cultural ties and cooperation between Benin and China. For organizers, this is just the beginning, with hopes that the discipline will continue to expand across the country.
That was Sharon Barunga on Tai Chi gaining popularity in Benin. A new science fiction film has topped the North American box office. Project Hail Mary earned over $80 million in its opening weekend. Animated film Hoppers came in second with $18 million. The film has grossed more than $120 million in North America and over $240 million worldwide. A new music season themed on the Yellow River is launched in Lanzhou. The event will run through December 31st in the capital of Gansu Province. It features 12 performances and public outreach events like concerts, live shows, and lectures, all offering a rich cultural experience. A folk culture week is opened in Inner Mongolia. The event in Tokto County celebrates the annual thawing of the Yellow River. Visitors enjoyed cultural performances and fresh fish dishes. The tradition traces back thousands of years, with archaeological evidence showing fishing cultures in the area as early as 5,500 years ago. 57 past the hour. Beijing, cloudy and down to 5 degrees, a high of 20 on Tuesday. Shanghai will see a light rainfall overnight and through tomorrow with a low of 10, a high of 13. Chongqing also getting a light rain. It's down to 15, then a high of 20. Nanchang will see moderate rainfall giving way to a light rain, a low of 13, a high of 16. Lhasa is cloudy and down to +1, some sleet in the forecast. It climbs all the way up to 13 tomorrow. Elsewhere in Asia, Islamabad will see a light rainfall and it's down to 13. Tuesday is overcast and 26 degrees. And that's it for this edition of the Beijing Hour. Making news today, the China Development Forum in Beijing has reaffirmed the country's commitment to high standard opening up, and China's warned that the situation in the Middle East threatens to become unmanageable if the fighting in the region continues. On behalf of the staff, this is Shane Bigham in the Chinese capital, hoping you'll join us for the next edition of the Beijing Hour and open a window to the world together.
Find the Beijing Hour at precisely 6 p.m. Beijing time. We meet you on podcast and on air every weekday. The Beijing Hour, your window on China and the rest of the world.
He can't live without the Yellow River in his eyes.
The Yellow River is so noble and elegant.
Both my grandpa and dad made a living from the river.
Would you like to move away from the Yellow River?
I
don't think I will. I love it so much.
The Yellow River, the second longest river in China, is regarded as a shaping force in the history, economy and culture of northern China. Today, about 100 million people live within its water basin, making up nearly 9% of the country's population. How is climate change felt at its headwaters, and what are the locals doing to cope with it? What are the descendants of the boatmen doing? What has kept some people from leaving their home village by the river, and what has drawn others back? Could the fading fishing community revive in a time of digital transformation? From 2021 to 2024, our reporters visited the upper, middle and lower reaches of the Yellow River, talked to the herders, farmers, boatmen, fishermen and eco-activists who share a close bond with the river and present their stories in pictures, podcasts, and videos, all in our 12-part series, The Yellow River Mosaic, available only on CGTN Radio